Former President J.A. Kuffuor John Agyekum Kuffuor na oye president na oye flag bearer edema NPP amanyokuo no between the years of 2000 and 2008 he was our president. In fact, if you are talking about one of the finest presidents here, Gen Z for ndie bibiri no ama meto no na ye kakra beto no de you get majority of Ghanaians saying that he is one of the finest presidents here yenya no because any time and enya major social interventions. Well, record states the popular National Health Insurance Scheme, it was under his regime ana sa enhyehyɛ no eba ya ene obi a hospital a wonya akwanya kakra enura obetoto ahwa a yebehwe no ni ade nyina no ebo no so etimitie ene maternity ward ni ade bibre ba no na enam His Excellency John Agyekum Kuffuor so ana Ghana for ensa ekan there are a lot of flagship project here enam former President J. Kuffuor so eba na enra ana TV3 had an exclusive interview with former President J. Kuffuor na it was on corruption ye nyina ye nimse kurum ha de keta asehye ne proye ne dwirim ne de aye ese ne sabi ye nyina ye nimse afi kasa no so ahu adokoro yankasa se ne akokono adokoro abemu what you say chese ofa ha ji ofa ha yi ofa akwa chese ba bia obefa bia kata asehye ne proye aye hotwam okwa aso de mu ewo ho okwa hospitals ye wo ho okwa judicial system no aye ho police for de na kun chese ba bia obefa bia kata asehye ene proye aye se twom na say no there was a report na yes Ghana for na ba mu obu say asemisi na akoba mane especially with cases involving corruption akoba mane obi anya ho hwe so obi anya ho hwe there then of course what will be the benefits of telling again say unya similar case na say hu hia because oye okoka na say yenka ho hwe there and it's unnecessary say obeto aso na wadi hu nkomo and afro barometer so kire say corruption ene dwirim die Ghana adokoro ye papa na eno ana Beatrice Boahen ebusa no Beatrice Edu oye TV3 presenter obusa nse na say na hu corruption esifa ewokuruma ana o say corruption ne de efiri tete de nyina ana corruption awo no mo na me kura me pen so sa atam na me president no one of my hard-working ministers, Dr. Richard Anane, no, ye the corruption robo ebo na me time. Anana me pese dream die, ye di dream die, ye kata je ne proye for me, ene ma ba enti no. Me catch Dr. Anane, or say at the time, oni mi sa no born ho ne papa. Ano ka che se krache, gina nchen, if we say me mpe kata je ene proye ayi bia ye de ba be for me. Oso mani sinchen kopem se shraage eye o hwe mu wie bibia no hu se papa no hu som ndi se ne hu som dia ene mesan afre no na obaye na adwuma o se krom ha no a ye wo no pull him down syndrome no edo so too much na eno no emwa na o san ka biem se krom ha na ye wo no se ye betumi ama ye man a ene mi no mienu atimi na tumpon dia age say ye boa ema private sector no grow say ama private sector no grow dia ne aban ne ho bokoso akire no every say na aban be si there apadwuma ma obi okrom ha even when you go to the advanced countries and I know say this is not a conversation we are ready to have even when you go to the advanced countries the US and the UKs and the European countries near the there are unemployment it is a Ghana and only a developing country, no say unemployment. I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but a idea it will continue to exist even if we grow to the status of developed nation. If you say unemployment in there, you still get people are move here on any. And the government cannot absorb all of them. Sometimes they are not. You see, the government is very clear with that. But yeah, we act oblivion. Oh, to government in some way. It is a reality. Eti nenkasa ye no and also say ya expand the private sector. Now one more intimi absorbing most of graduate who fie ne dia. And yet the issue of unemployment will still exist. Was it some of the times and also ne aban ne ye say opeso employ bia no. And also moi enje also be call one ministry na adwuma nipa 100 ebetimi an na 500 and na so you see, so you realize that right from onset, productivity won't go on. Na adwuma nipa 100 betimi aye. And nipa 500 na aye. And ye ensem de obru bisu papa was say a man for a tua omoka ene ade no eno nso kura no isu na obi no e wabusu ya ne ade no ama no say 14,000 ene e kan director e ho asem also man director 14,000 e be dey watimi ahwe one ne yire ne man wo de ne yire ne mako ne man akọ private school na kire say ye no a ye te yi ase ho ne de kwa pa ama ne de na say ye de saito no an ye de man beko enti we ye ezem ni bia ye former president eje Kuffuor kan na mo ye ntie ni nsem ni bi.
So yes, that's corruption, and I'm not saying there isn't corruption. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer of over 60 years standing. I was called to the bar in 1961 when I was only 22 years. So it's in me. I understand. And I'm also a politician. I know the nature of the power play of politics. Even twins can destroy each other just for power.
You say that people could accuse you of doing something and eventually mar your integrity. But there are individuals who have actually been found of being corrupt.
Oh, but I say could, meaning sometimes there will be substance to the allegation, and if there's substance and it's well established, then you must suffer the penalties. But other times too, you may be innocent, but just because they may envy your position, they would come after you with allegations. And unless people would resort to, say, the legal processes, which even there is not always perfect. There's hardly perfection on earth. But once you've got an enlightened constitution providing for, say, independent judiciary to go into matters, that's where, as far as possible, matters should be settled. You don't go just because Kuffuor alleged you are this and that. Then they punish you for it. That I don't subscribe to.
I mean, we're talking about the fact that corruption still exists. From where you sit, how bad do you think it is now in Ghana?
Well, I'm telling you, if you like, there are grades of corruption. There's petty thievery. And there's the very serious ones. And to me, the worst is the type of corruption that issues out of envy, greed, if you like, racism, tribalism, misgovernance. These are very serious. That's where you get the fat cats. But look, when Ghana got independence, the population was just about 6 million. But there was abundance of things, food. People didn't have to strive too hard to get gainful employment on living wages. Since then, just 60-something years ago, population has jumped to over 40 or towards 40 million. But the economy hasn't kept pace with the population explosion. So it means we've got so many people now unemployed. Their wages are not fixed, I believe, realistically or on basis of productivity and efficiency. So what happens? You get, say, a very competent, highly qualified civil servant who's worked for perhaps decades in the ministry. Go and ask the sort of salary he's given. At the end of the month, he would be lucky to take home pay of about, say, 20,000 cedis, Ghana cedis. This person, highly educated, as I say, very competent and all, has got family. He must look after his children, say, in the international schools for quality education. He wants to build his own, if you like, house. He wants to drive his car. Fairly, he's entitled. But do you think he can do all this with his salary, which has been fixed not so much on the productivity he delivers, as like just providing jobs for people?
The last time I checked, the salary of a director was around 14,000 plus.
14,000, not even 20,000. What can you do, even young lady as you are, with your learning? I'm sure you get more than 14,000 cedis. If you don't mind telling the world.
I can't tell the world.
You can. Can you?
No.
Why won't you tell? Why are you hiding it?
It's supposed to be confidential.
Well, but this public servant, because he belongs to the public, and because his salary is not fixed so much on his productivity as on the basis of government having the duty to provide for the general mass of the people. So it's just like, let's share it out, not taking into account productivity, so we can engage as many people as possible. You remember, I believe in about in the 1990s, there was a policy of retrenchment, by which I believe it was an IMF conditionality when the then government had to engage with IMF to retrench, lay off people because the public service had overemployed people.
Because there are ghost names.
Not just ghost names. No, if it's ghost names, then you can't retrench it. But these were real people who were really doing nothing to make the economy productive from the standpoint of the public sector. So retrench, and the government retrenched people. But then there was no private sector to absorb these unfortunate public servants who were retrenched. You get me? The truth is that there's something like overemployment, which doesn't make for economic growth properly. So that was and the public service tends to be the victim of such a policy. Government engages, you come in, there are so many well-educated youth, they want employment. Somehow we haven't allowed the private sector to grow as an economy and society. Huh? And so government is left to carry the burden of finding gainful employment across the board for people.
Your Excellency, I hear you say three things. You talk about poor pay in the public sector, you talk about private sector involvement, and you talk about growth.
Private sector hasn't been helped. There's a glib talk of the private sector being the engine of growth. Where are the policies that help the private sector to grow, to become the engine of growth of the economy?
Do you see any now?
I'm asking you. You're asking me, you're making it seem...
I know you monitor the news every second. Do you see any now?
Ghana can do far better than it's doing.
So you don't see any?
I'm not saying any, but it can do far better than it's doing. See, what I believe, now there's the terminology of public-private partnership. I believe the public sector should set the framework to empower the private sector to invest, to attract investment, to add value. If you talk of industrialization, it shouldn't be the government as such doing the industrial or the value addition. Government should rather lay the policies that would empower the private sector to use the raw materials with value addition to create the factories to engage the...
But, Your Excellency, just a couple of years ago, we saw another government in place that introduced one district, one factory, and we don't seem to have seen the end of it.
You said talk is different from the investment. You want to invest, you have to acquire, say, a piece of land, bring in the machinery, get the qualified management, must have done the business study, the target of land, the water courses, the natural wealth, the very competent, nice people. If you can harness them and sort of engage them in producing, say, chocolates, because cocoa, this should earn a lot of money. We know that the cocoa industry internationally is an industry that generates over $100 billion US dollars every year. Ghana is the second producer of cocoa, the beans with which everything is started in the industry. How much does Ghana earn a year from producing, say, about 500,000 tons of cocoa?
Because we don't add value to it.
So the adding of value is attracting the private sector to add value to make the chocolate, or at least some form of the processes towards getting the completed
I heard you say
product.
that you can talk and you can still have policy, but it's left with the implementation. Are you saying that beyond the talk, there was no political will to implement
it
this?
doesn't take, look.
And I'm talking about the one district, one
You must
factory.
have the idea first, and it's from the idea the talk comes. And then after the talk, the policy, that word, the entrepreneur, seeing this, truly, Ghana produces premium cocoa. If I can bring machinery to set up a factory to process the made of the quality bean.
Enti when ye ensem ni bia former president J.A. Kuffuor ene ye obro ensem so pa oka bebiri no a de kyerɛkyerɛ ekwan a ebetumi afa na economy no aguru na etimi aboa ama mabunu emranteɛ mabaawa nkitesia obia anya adwuma aye na aboa ama corruption a ye ka ho asɛm a edi o man yewu ene nansan ya ye nyina ye nim NSS scandal ya ekoso enye no nko a previously there have been huge scandals SML deal any scandals ahodo bebiri akoso na ye kawo say aha Island TV Plus and your first time wa o subscribe no share no like na afoforo so enya video ni bi ahwe e de amaye